Sports Podcast.
Welcome to the All Sports Podcast with me, Matt, and today, James. Hi, James.
Hello, guys. How we doing?
Well, I see I've not said and Joel, but you said guys. So again, whenever I put you first, this is why I shouldn't put you first. I should do Joel then James and Joel. But yeah, we're good, thanks.
Should I say hello now?
I think so.
Lads, this is pod 17. What on earth is going on?
Is it 17 or 18? Well, it's you, because you said, how are we, guys?
It's just a greeting. It's hello, how are everyone? Yeah, it's
okay. I'll work on saying hello and greeting people. Seamlessly onto the agenda. Tonight we'll be obviously covering off the chaotic knockout rounds that have commenced in the Euros. We'll do a bit of a chronological fixture run through. We'll also have a little bit of a recap on our predictions, underperformers, winners, best player, and also how our sweepstake teams are getting on. Nice to catch back up on that. We had an amazing F1 at Austria over the weekend. We'll touch on that. And we've had a start of a couple of big calendar items in the sporting calendar this year with Wimbledon and the Tour de France. So if we get time, we'll have a little bit of a touch and a recap on that. Okay, so chronologically, where do we start? We start with
the
Switzerland, Italy.
Mm-hmm.
And it was 2-0 to Switzerland, knocking out the reigning champions.
Very comfortable for Switzerland. Philip, I think we've talked about them a little bit on previous pods, but they got a bit of a threat up front. Those two look really good, and they are just so well organised. They're just always, I think I said last week or the week before, they're just always a little bit better than you think they're going to be.
Yeah, agreed. I don't know how much of the match you watched, but it didn't really ever look like they weren't in control. Like Italy, when you watch them play in these knockout games, they sit really deep and they just invite on teams to press on them, which Switzerland did really well. And they've got a strong spine in their squad, and it's great to watch Italy go out as the ones that dumped us out in the last Euro. So yeah, good match overall.
I was just going to say I was not impressed with Italy through the entire tournament, really. Like, they've got a really good coach. Like, Spalletti's probably one of the best coaches in the tournament. He's got so much experience at club level. But I don't know if he just didn't quite have enough time with the squad, or if the squad is just genuinely not very good. But yeah, it was not impressed with them at all. Didn't look like they had any kind of serious attacking threats. They were pretty fortunate in the final group game to even get through in the end, weren't they? So yeah, because I think Switzerland was in the end with a stronger team out of the two.
Yeah. So speaking to our Italian friend today, said something quite similar. There's not a lot of names in the team. There's probably more big names in the Swiss team than there is the Italian team, to be fair. You know how the Italian team are going to perform. You also know that they're probably not going to concede more than one goal in most games, because they will always have fundamentally a solid defence. And then they build from there. However, they've got no one to score one, let alone two goals to compete in these games, especially in the knockouts. And that's where they really struggled. Without that threat up front, they just became exposed at the back, more so as the tournament progressed and they came up against more competent opposition, such as Switzerland.
The great thing about Switzerland, which conversely to what we watch with England, is they're not a team full of superstars, but they're a team that has a system that works the players that they have perfectly. Like you mentioned about the quality that they have, they probably only have like maybe two players that would challenge like a top international team, Akanji and Xhaka. And Xhaka, in international tournaments, obviously he had a great year at Leverkusen as well. Just turns into like an animal, just bosses the game. And the way that they press is so smart and it's so well coached. It's like, if you put that coach in charge of a team who has an abundance of talent, they'd be so difficult to beat.
I think Xhaka's a real competitor. And he brings that out of other people around him too. He's not going to lose a match. And I think he gets that out of his team and being around him as well. So I think he's also the right choice for them as captain.
Yeah, it's just completely different to Italy as well. Like, Italy clearly came out from the second half and like, oh, we'll turn this around with a better team. And within 20, however many seconds it was, there's a ball in the net. Like the mentality of the Italian team just didn't look that great coming out.
That was a killer, wasn't it? That quick goal after half time. When you, like you said, you didn't fancy the Italians to score once, let alone twice. So I think that killed the game.
What do you fancy England's chances against Switzerland then?
Well, I mean, let's talk about the Slovakia game first, I guess. And, it was pretty bad, but they are through.
Win ugly, and you do. But the problem is that it's all been ugly, and what they need is something a little bit more attractive and progressive to be more threatening. When we say about winning ugly, what we were actually saying is they didn't really string anything together, look particularly threatening, have any progressive and direct play where they looked like they could do some damage to a team. They got 2 goals that were a little bit out of nowhere. So it is winning ugly, but it's actually like it's kind of winning against the odds.
Look, I think that game sums up what knockout football is. England were on top. They conceded a goal that's a little bit scrappy from a defensive point of view. Like Gahey got a little bit knocked, lost his man. I don't know where Walker's running to during that goal. And, when you go 1-0 down against a team that you shouldn't do, the nerves get up. You go, oh, right, okay, right. We've got 70 minutes to score, it'll be fine. We've got 50 minutes to score, it'll be fine. It just ticked down and down and down. You could see we got scrappier and scrappier as the game went on. But like you mentioned, winning ugly, like we have great players who bring out great moments of football. Like there is nothing to explain Jude Bellingham scoring a 95th minute goal other than him being world class. Like we had no right to go through that game. But world class players do world class things, and we did get away with it. But hopefully that ignites us a little bit into the next few rounds.
That is pretty much my takeaway to a T, because there was so much chat, both during the game and afterwards, about the substitutions and lack of. And I actually am glad that he didn't tweak it too much, because we need those big players on the pitch. And without those big players on the pitch, there's no idea. So unless we had a coach that had a really clear idea of what he wanted to happen by taking those players off, then he shouldn't do that. And I think he has a bit of self-awareness, Southgate, that is, in the sense that he needs them. He needs them to be the ones who produce these moments. And yeah, I'm actually a little bit more bullish about England's chances since that game, which might sound a bit contradictory, but yeah, I just think that could be the catalyst.
I mean, are you even more? Yeah, but is that partly because of how the draw is opening up as well?
That's a factor. They're on the right side of the draw. There's no question about that. I'm not saying that all the teams on England's side of the draw are cannon fodder, but I'd much rather be playing them than France, Portugal, Spain, or Germany. And they only have to play one of those teams now. I've just got this weird feeling that it's falling for them. That moment, that Bellingham moment. There were like another couple of moments in that game, like that one that they nearly scored from the halfway line. Things are just going that
was crazy.
Yeah.
Stones was away with it, isn't he?
Stones was on a different planet.
Yeah,
he was trying to get the game going, like just chopping it across, and Stones says, "Oh, I'm not getting that." It could have gone so. That could have been the moment that our generation remembers about this tournament. Like that would have been the Rob Green letting the ball in the net. Like that would have been that level of mess up.
Don't get me wrong, but I do understand that they aren't playing well, and that is a problem. And they're not doing like the really basic things, like the passing on Sunday afternoon was abysmal. Like I don't think they got a single weight of pass correct all game, and like the problem of it coming out to Trippier and then back to Gueye and then into Rice and back to Trippier, it was just constant. Like you could just see it happening all the time. They weren't taking any risk with the ball. But like I say, I just think maybe it's driven by narrative. Maybe I'm just hanging to the narrative that they're going to click into gear after this. I don't really like a lot of the stuff that happened after the game. With Bellingham and Kane and Southgate's interviews, but it could be a good thing for them. Like having that siege mentality could be a good thing. But yeah, I think it's quite immature and quite hypocritical actually, because they don't look like they're having a very good time on the pitch, and then they've got and then they're coming out afterwards and saying, "Oh, why are the fans saying that it doesn't look good?" Well, you clearly don't think it looks good either.
Yeah, I'd agree. I'd agree with that. I'm just going to go back to your original point on Southgate, and I think you're absolutely right. He trusts those big players. He trusts them, but at some point, I think he will trust them to a fault, and it will sting him. On this occasion, it meant that we had that moment from Bellingham that meant that we're through instead of out. If he didn't score that world-class goal, then we were out at the last moment in the game. There wasn't going to be another moment.
I genuinely don't think that moment is sort of being looked at what it is. It's literally a generational moment. Like to score a goal like that in a Euros knockout is ridiculous.
It's similar to Beckham against Greece.
If we go on to win this tournament, that is the biggest goal in England colour in 60 years. It's a joke.
Yeah, and instead we're looking at him grabbing his crotch. I
think he was saying he had some mates in the crowd there. Like it's probably been a footballer, isn't it? There's a camera on you every moment on a pitch. Like I haven't really got a problem with that. The who else celebrates?
He's usually like pretty pitch perfect with stuff like that. I feel like I don't know if it's like the emotions of playing for England or whatever, but he's not been as pitch perfect.
He goes on the pitch. He goes over the top a little bit. Like it's certainly in terms of the aggression and confrontation when he's been playing for Real Madrid this year. He gets yellows for going a little bit too over the top and losing control a little bit.
That's exactly what we need. We had too much of a soft play for 10 years in the England team. Haven't got a problem with that, especially when he backs it up with the way he does.
Yeah, that's it. And I think this is a bit of a catalyst moment for him in the tournament as well. And I think this is what can make it his tournament too. I don't know if any of us called him out for our player of the tournament, but we'll get to that in our predictions. But yeah, so then from then on, from that goal onwards, it then didn't look like England were going to lose. England looked like they were the only side that were going to score in the rest of the tie.
Look, there
was just one more chance for Slovakia, was there?
There was a back post one that went just over the bar. Yeah, we fell asleep again. But I think he's not a left back, is he? I will say I bashed quite a lot of the team, but I actually thought Rice was way better, on Sunday than he had been in the first few games. He looked a bit more combative, with Miney next to him. Still a little bit backwards and sideways with his passing, but he was a bit braver in some moments with the switches. Like he definitely played more like Rice that I was expecting. And he looked better with Manu next to him 100%. Like that's a change that hopefully sticks.
To Saka at left back?
Oh yeah, that was needs must. It won't continue.
He doesn't look like he fancies himself there. Saka, no. That is. I don't really think he wants to be there. Like I'd actually, in conversations with people last week, I'd actually suggested that there's maybe a solution, but having seen it, and actually, when you think about it, he hasn't played there for a long time, and it's probably just not ideal.
It's not a bad option if we need a goal. I don't mind having him on the pitch because he will beat a man and put a ball in, but it's not we're starting to cut in the quarterfinals. Let's put Saka at left back. That would never be an option for me.
Yeah, and then also, I also don't like that we've taken Shaw unfit and not been able to play 4 games in a knockout.
The rumours he'll be fit for Saturday, though.
Yeah, but we could have gone out.
Yeah,
I mean, he's not match fit. He's not going to be able to play. He's not going to play 120 minutes, is he? Which it's likely that we're going to go to against Switzerland.
No, but if if Shaw starts and we have a lead and we've got to take him off, you've got defensive options, Gomez, Concert, you can put Walker there if you really have to. That's not the problem. Our problem is scoring goals at the moment.
I think it'll really help us just having a left footer out there.
Yeah, it'll help Foden as well, I think, because someone will be able to keep the width. We can't just say everything's going to be fixed because Luke Shaw's playing, but we should look a little bit better.
that balance will certainly have returned, but that's if he is fit to play.
Yeah, agreed. I think.
Yeah, I mean, if you opposition team, you'd be targeting him, wouldn't you?
Oh yeah, 100%. It's the to like sort of preview the next round. So obviously Saturday is England, Switzerland. We've just talked about how strong of a system the Swiss have in comparison to how weak of a system we have. So I think it'll be a good game. I mean, I hope we'd have enough to get past them, but they made Italy look pretty ordinary.
It'll be hard. It'll be England's hardest game so far by a considerable margin. But yeah, I do just think that they might benefit from playing a side like that as well.
But I like the matchup of Bellingham and Xhaka, and I fancy Bellingham to come out on top of that one.
Screams a couple of yellow cards, that doesn't it?
Yeah.
First 20 minutes, yeah. When did the yellow cards get reset?
They've already been not? After round of 16. They got reset.
Okay, that's right.
So good job, because that ref on Sunday was hard happy, wasn't he?
It was
Was it 13? Was it 13 cards?
Is that how many it was?
I'm sure it's
I can't be 13. Amazingly, I had bets on with was it like the request to bets yellows. Didn't get a single one right.
Oh really?
Isn't good considering how many gave out. But yeah, just the scenes were just mental. Though we went to watch in like a local warehouse thing, like they call it a market, but it's just like a big warehouse with 2 screens on the side. And I genuinely had an Uber booked home before the final goal went in. I was like, oh, I'm leaving. This is wrong.
I'm going.
I was like, this is going to be full time in a minute. My Uber will be here in 2 minutes. I'll be out. And the goal went in. I had to cancel my Uber. Nice £10 cancellation fee. I threw somebody out of a fire escape. It was great. And then I missed the Kane goal as well. I was at the bar.
Wasn't there a big brawl at the end of that as well?
15 yellows and 2 reds.
Yeah, I think it's from like there was a big altercation at the end.
What did you make of the Germany and Spain wins? Spain looked very impressive.
Spain look good, don't they? But I think Spain are going to be the ones who look really good but go out relatively early. I think they'll go out against Germany actually.
I hope so, because I don't fancy our chances against them. I don't think we'll score more than them.
Well, yeah, to get the hosts in the quarterfinals is pretty difficult. That could have easily been a finals matchup.
Yeah.
So yeah, it'd be a great watch on Friday. It's Friday night, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah. So Spain looked so comfortable, but against Georgia, any other day of the week, you'd expect Spain to beat Georgia 4-1. I don't think
7-1 in the 7-1 in the qualifying round. So they're bad.
But what I would say is Fabian Ruiz, Nico Williams, and Lamine Yamal.
Dangerous.
They look incredible, don't they?
Yeah, they do look really good. But there's always a team who look really good, and everyone thinks is the standout team, and then they just trip up and they're out. I feel like that's going to be Spain. I realise that I'm peddling a lot of narrative.
Spain narrative going on.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
The worrying thing is that France seem like they're doing very similar to England. They haven't looked great so far. Like they only just scraped past Belgium, and they might just suddenly click and you go, here comes France. Like we're in big trouble if they get to the final with us. We can get them in the final.
I don't know if I'm worried about them clicking. I'm worried about them doing what they're doing slightly better than England end up doing it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, just grinding out wins at the moment.
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me if that's the final and it's super cagey. And yeah, they just outlast us basically.
Yeah,
I'm not. I'm still not overwhelmed. Like Germany, obviously demolished Scotland, but Scotland's poor performance and just didn't get going in the tournament at all. But their 2-0 win against Hungary, and then their draw against Switzerland, and then against Denmark, they didn't look great. The better side won, but just marginally.
Couple of things went their way.
I think it probably is a better result than what the match actually showed. So I'm not overwhelmed by Germany at the moment.
Yeah, fair point. I just think that Germany, like we mentioned, they get that extra 10% from playing at home. they have players that are having good tournaments. And the offside goal was a joke. Like that would have changed the game quite a lot.
Exactly. Yeah.
Did they go behind at home? The crowd gets on them, it gets cagey. But yeah, again, they're one of these teams with superstar players that can do great things from nowhere. So not one to be counted out. I'm similar to Joe. I do think they'll beat Spain in the next round, and that will leave a Spain, France.
Yeah, Spain, France, or Spain.
Well, I mean,
Portugal.
I wouldn't be totally convinced that France get past Portugal.
Yeah,
great.
Yeah. To use an expression I learned today, I would not sleep on Portugal.
Really rock.
Have you been speaking to teenagers?
Yeah.
No. My wife taught it to me today, and I think I've used it. I think I've used it correctly.
You have to.
I think they've had their dodgy performance. But crazy that Ronaldo's still not scored. I did call him for top scorer in the tournament, and he's not actually scored yet, aside from the penalties last night. But that squad that they've got and the players they've got world class players that can have moments too. So I'm not writing off Portugal yet.
He's such a big problem for them, and if they're going to keep playing him, I think it creates more problems than it solves for them. I don't really.
It's true, but they've only got to play him for one more week for the rest of Portuguese football. So,
yeah, you don't want to sour it, do you? With one, because if you bench him, he'll become an absolute problem for everybody else.
Yeah.
So they'll probably manage his minutes. I can't.
Well, they did, didn't they? Do you remember in the last? Was it in the World Cup or in the last Euros?
What didn't start him?
Yes, I'm sure that was the case. And they played incredibly well. Renato Sanchez was playing really well.
Probably because he'd already scored a goal this time around. He hadn't scored a goal yet, and they were through. And he basically, the way that I read it is that he basically insisted on playing so that he could get a goal against Georgia. And then last night, I just thought he behaved like a complete narcissist. It was just like he had to take every single step piece. It was all about him, and that is never going to be a positive thing.
Yeah, not when you've got Bruno Fernandes on the pitch, who's one of the best ball strikers in the world. And his penalty, by the way, Fernandes, goodness me, gave it the eyes and just rolls it into the net. Just the stress of that environment and to be that calm. The
only thing is that the squad absolutely idolizes Ronaldo, so they won't really have a problem with it. But it is hurting them massively. Their defense looks so like Diogo Costa, 3 penalty saves. Like if you were going to now, you'd be like, I don't want to play these.
Yeah, he looks good, doesn't he? But old Pepe, he looked every minute of his 41 years in that extra time.
He did. Can we talk about 41-year-olds just for a quick second?
I mean, for the 90 minutes, I think he looked all right. Just as soon as he got into extra time, dropped off a cliff.
Which 41-year-olds did you want to talk about, Matt?
I'm just really, really going to quickly talk about Jimmy Anderson because just today he's taken 7 for 35 against Nottinghamshire as well. Nottinghamshire, not a bad side whatsoever. And he's absolutely ripped through them in just one spell. He took 6 overs in the first spell, didn't he, James? So, and we're going to be bidding farewell to him next week. Will be his last ever Test match for England, which is a disgrace that he's on the best form of his life.
Yeah, I mean, we spoke about it previously, but you can see why it's happening. Is he retiring from county at the same time? Is he retiring full time?
No, he's not. He's not confirmed that. He's looking into it, but he's taking on a bowling mentorship role for England. So I can't imagine he'll be travelling around the country with Lancashire County Cricket.
Yeah, probably be on more of the tours, won't he? I mean, he bowled, didn't he? But yeah, he is 42. Like they have to at some point bring somebody else in to play. Blood them in, which is the issue that we have with the England football team. We're not blooding in young people quickly enough.
No. Well segued back. Yeah, but Pepe definitely looked
Able.
off the pace. You can't just have him in because he's a figurehead in the team.
But he's not like for the first night. He's had another good season. Like for the first 90 minutes, he looked good. But the mad thing is, Portugal got some great centre halves. Like it's for him to still be playing is testament to how well he's looking after himself.
So how are they going to do against France on Friday night?
It could be another cagey game.
I do that. Yeah.
It could be a goal out. Like again, like we talk about, like Spain going out, but I could see Portugal like nicking it. Like it's not something that's beyond the realms possibility. They've got great forward players. Aside from Ronaldo, your Jotas, Leao, Bernardo Silva, Bruno Fernandes, these are all guys that can have their moments.
Yeah.
So I'd be hoping for Portugal to go through, just because I'd rather play them than France long term.
How did France look? How did France look against who did they put? Belgium? 1-0. Jan Vertonghen own goal. Disjointed,
probably the word I'd use.
Dodgy. Yeah, they've got some. There's some real parallels with England, with the French team. Like they aren't using certain players, and even though like I've said that I think that's probably the right thing for the England team. I don't know as much about the French setup, but they played Rabiot, Tchouaméni, and Kanté against Belgium. Like that is mad. I think they're not really using Kingsley Coman at all, which seems odd to me. Like whenever I see him, he looks like a really dangerous player, and he's not getting any minutes. They have a similar kind of imbalance in terms of they're on the opposite wing. So they're playing Koundé at right back, and he's an out-and-out centre half. So they're similarly stifled there. They've kind of had Griezmann. Like one of the things that made France a real success at the World Cup was Griezmann playing in a deeper role, dictating play, linking play between defence and attack. But I don't know the reasoning for the decision, but he played wide on the right and wasn't able to have the same influence on the game. So, yeah, I think that they've got some issues as well. Obviously, they've got really good players and like they can get through games on those players being really good, and they are super cautious because that's the way that Deschamps wants them to be.
So they've scored 4 goals. Scored 4 goals so far.
Yeah, they haven't got a goal scorer. Well, not one from open play, is it?
Mbappe's scored 2 penalties, and the other 2 goals have come from own goals from the other sides. Yeah. So,
yeah. So that says all we need to know about him. I feel like, but yeah, I mean,
I think really similar parallels to England. You're right, Joel.
They'll be favourites going into the game because they just are. But I do think they are overrated slightly.
Overrated on form, yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
and they've dumped out the golden generation of Belgian football that will probably never see a team like that again for Belgium.
Yeah, they had a real strange tournament, didn't they? Don't really know why they're not playing Tielemans. He seems like he'd be one that you'd want in the side. They seem to play De Bruyne quite deep against France. So obviously they're trying to protect obviously what they've got. They're trying to go as far into the game as they can still be in the game, which you understand. But yeah, it doesn't feel like De Bruyne is the man to do the job that they gave him, really.
Don't think so. Right, any other talking points then? Oh, I was going to say the European goalkeepers. Obviously, I was thinking about it last night with Costa and his 3 penalty saves, following up from Jan Oblak's save, and then also watching Dubravka in the tournament as well, and Noah and Pickford has actually been very solid too. I did think in terms of positions, I think that goalkeeping is the biggest strength in European football at the moment.
Oh, big point. That's a huge abundance of midfielders, but the goalkeepers look good so far. I think Diego Costa, though, is like he will be at a top club in the next 12 months. I think I've thought that for a while. He'll get a big move and he'll be like a Donnarumma level of paid keeper. Like someone will have to go and pick him up at some point. Like for me, he's probably the long-term plan for Real Madrid. I think Courtois obviously did his ACL. How he comes back isn't guaranteed. So if he has a bit of a dodgy start, they'll probably just go and pull the trigger on Costa. Or Liverpool and Man City are succession planning with Edison and Alisson both having interest from the Saudi league. So he's going to get a great move from somebody.
Yeah, I don't know about all positions, but there's definitely more top goalkeepers than there are top number 9s.
Oh, nice. 9s are struggling.
Not many good forwards around.
But you can see like the same clubs are scrambling for 9s at the moment. Like Isaac obviously is one of them. Osimhen from Napoli. But because there isn't that many, they're going to go for so much money.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of 9s, Tony came on. Tony came on for England. Did a job holding
Really
up the ball. I mean, Harry Kane's not done what Tony did in 10 minutes for the last 4 games. That
scored the winner, but apart from that, someone
was gonna score the winner for England. It just happened to be.
Coming from Southgate, I thought it was quite funny that he thought Tony was going to be annoyed with him for putting him on with a play, and he ends up being involved in both goals. Big miss for Liverpool. For England, though, will be Gay. He obviously suspended for Switzerland, so someone's going to have to come in. I don't know who that will be.
I don't feel too badly about that. I think it's good. I think it will probably be Konsa, and he's similar level to Gay. I think as long as it's not Dunk, I wouldn't feel great if it was Dunk.
If Dunk were in a world of pain. If it's Dunk, we're in a world of pain because it's 2 centre halves. We need somebody who can cover that side.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind Konsa coming in and Stones moving over to the left because I think he's a little bit more comfortable there. But that's just my opinion, really. But I think it'll be Konsa coming in, and I don't see too big a drop off there.
All right, so we think England going to sneak through?
I believe so. Yeah. Now I think we've got our big scare out of the way.
And Joel, as he said, very bullish for England's chances now. So we know he's backing England, and we're saying Germany. Joel, you were saying you think Spain have had their run now, and Germany are going to go through.
Yeah, I'd say Germany and France to get through on the other side, and England, and we don't know yet who's in that other quarter final, do we?
Netherlands definitely are. They had a comfortable win earlier today. Gakpo carrying them a little bit.
For a minute against Albania, so it's 1-0.
So probably Netherlands.
Against who?
Right?
It's either Austria,
Turkey,
Albania. It's Austria, yeah. Albania and Austria mix them up. But
Austria, Turkey. Yeah. You thought what, James?
I thought Austria looked really good. Like I thought that they beat Turkey. Obviously, it's only half time, so maybe they can turn it around. But we'll see. I would expect the Netherlands to be either Albania, Austria, or Turkey. So it will be the Netherlands versus us, hopefully in the semi-final.
In a semi.
To get a handle. Struggling to get a handle on the Netherlands. I'm not sure how good that.
Yeah, I don't really know. From their group games and from their one knockout game so far, not really sure. I don't think that they've properly been tested yet.
They're a bit like us, though. They have loads of great individual players that who can turn it on. Like Gakpo's goal today was amazing.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be. We're not going to walk all over it.
Such a weird player, Gakpo. I don't get him at all. I think he looks ungainly, and then he's like a pretty consistent goal scorer, right?
Yeah, he is. He can go through times you go, how on earth do you defend against this guy? And then there's others like, what are you doing on the pitch? We've got to hope for the second one to come out if we play them.
And Xavi Simons is just still like banging in the assists, so they're getting a lot of creativity. England are going to need to find a way to shut down that avenue from Simons up to the front two with Depay and Gakpo. But, all right, that's a lot of football. Shall we move on to the F1?
Oh, we shall.
Hell of a race. So
Well,
George Russell winning the Austrian Grand Prix is definitely not the headline.
No, it's not. And I would say that the drama started on Saturday as well, in the sprint, where you saw, Max and Lando, the elbows were out a little bit. I think actually Lando had the quicker car, but he started squabbling with his teammate as well. So Max did drive away, but you knew that Sunday was going to be close.
Yeah.
And I think, for the first time since the Hamilton versus Verstappen season, we've seen the old Max sort of reappear because he's having to race people now, and
we're getting a bit touchy, is it?
He
is. So the big storyline is that they crashed basically into each other, Norris and Verstappen,
they didn't crash into each other. It was adjudicated to be Max's fault. So Max crashed into Lando, didn't give him the space for the corner, and kept forcing him wide. But obviously Lando had to turn in for the corner. And they then collided, both got punctures, and then Lando had to retire his car. Max was able to get into the pits fairly quickly, and get back out and still score in the points. Funnily enough, after that crash and a puncture, doing an extra pit stop, coming back out on track, he still beat Perez in the race, the number 2 driver for Red Bull. So Red Bull have got to be looking at that and shaking their heads. They're surely not sticking with him for next year, let alone for the rest of this year, because they're severely compromising their constructors championship. The points deficit is just tumbling down.
It is. The big thing for the race is it wasn't just a one corner thing. Like, this was going on for a few laps. Verstappen and Norris are really good friends outside of F1. Like, they get on really well, and they've said that quite a lot in the press. But the concern was that Norris isn't going to be tough enough to go wheel to wheel with his blackest pal, and this put a lot of that to look like he was, it was putting in some aggressive turns and stuff. Like, he was really trying to go past him. And Max Verstappen just cannot yield a position. Like, if he thinks he's going to lose, he'll be putting in his car in a way that he shouldn't really be doing. Like, he'll move under braking.
Moving under braking, and
it's terrible.
Yeah,
and
it's dangerous. It's dangerous.
I don't know if you saw it, but so the actual McLaren team principal obviously isn't Zach Brown. He's the one that is very publicised, but Andreas Seidel is the team principal. Mm-hmm. And he is super calm, super level-headed. Whenever he does an interview, he just gives a good perspective on the race. And even he had to come out and say, look, no one's ever done anything about Verstappen's driving. He got away with it against Hamilton when it was still pretty poor, and now he's doing it again. He's just not learned his lesson. I would say, if we have another 10 races, how many we've got left of these two going wheel to wheel, it's not going to be the last time that they hit each other.
It's not. And the good thing is that Piastri, the number 2 driver for McLaren, is also fancies himself as the number 1 and is performing very well too, and is in the mix as well, which is what James was alluding to in the sprint race. Piastri was challenging Lando as well in the sprint race, whereas obviously we know Perez is at the back of the top 10 in comparison to Verstappen. And then to talk to the Ferraris and the Mercedes that are kind of also in the mix, but not quite on the same level of speed as the McLaren at the moment. Leclerc and Sainz are pretty close. We know that battle is still going on, that Sainz has been let go so that Hamilton can come in, and he's still got to name where he's going to go next year. And apparently some people are making last-ditched attempts to get him in, so we'll see where he actually lands. I don't know if you've heard any new rumours over the weekend, James, on that.
What signs? The rumour is that he'll sign with Alpine with a release clause in 2026. So if they've not performed, he can go and join another top team. I think Audi enter at 2026 as well. Mm-hmm. Go to Audi. That looks like the best deal for him. The drop from Ferrari to Williams is probably a bit of a bitter pill to take. They're a lower end team, whereas the Alpine are fighting for points a bit more regularly. So that makes sense. So just to sort of touch on the Russell win, I feel like it did get overclouded by all this Verstappen Norris drama, but he drove well all weekend. He was consistently quicker than Lewis, 2/10 in qualifying. 2/10 in the sprint laps, 2/10 in the actual qualifying. Drove very well. Like, you have to be there to take advantage of these things. So
that's what he said in the interview at the end of it as well, was you've got to be there to pick up the pieces. Like, these two guys have wiped each other off the track, and I was next in line. So he wasn't the fastest, but he did everything right that he could do to get the win.
Yeah,
and he still had a very fast McLaren chasing him down as well in Piastri, and he kept that gap at 2 to 3 seconds for the remaining 12 laps of the race. So he got it done.
Yeah, a very quick McLaren, which is the fastest car on the track. He kept aside. So yeah, good drive in the end, deserved his win, and a great race. And we go again, Silverstone on Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
Yeah,
which is always interesting.
The home Grand Prix
for
many of the teams.
Because they are based there, aren't they?
Good going into it with some Brits in good form at the top end of the grid.
Oh yeah,
definitely. Very, very good for Norris. Max Verstappen still needs to take a grid penalty on car parts as well. Yeah,
it won't be this week. He'll do it at Spa, longest track. They're really good there, Red Bull are. He won from 20th there at some point, I think.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, absolute back of the grid.
Well, that'll do it.
It's a shame he's not going to be doing it at Silverstone, but that would just make it an even more interesting. And Silverstone is pretty decent for overtakes too. So hopefully we'll see a bit of a battle. The weather is looking intermittent for Silverstone this weekend. Exactly what we want. Overcast, maybe a bit of damp track. It's going to be amazing racing.
Yeah, I will go out with a Norris win, I reckon. That would be nice to see.
We've also had over the weekend, starting yesterday, we've had the start of Wimbledon. When we get into week 2, we'll do a little bit more of an overview on that. We've also had the start of the Tour de France. Want to touch on that a little bit because Mark Cavendish is currently tied on the record 34 stage wins with Eddie Merckx. So it's kind of almost come out of retirement to do the Tour again on okay form, is going to get carried around by his team and dragged to the front just to try and get one more stage win. But on the very first stage, with a few testy mountains and searing heat, was struggling with heat stroke and was off the back of the pack by 30 minutes. And pardon?
He nearly got the elimination time wasn't far behind him, was it?
Yeah, I think it finished on around like 45, 49 minutes they were talking about towards the end of the race. So yeah, within about 15 minutes, every single climb, he was just getting dropped by 5, 10, 15 minutes. And his team were just dragging him back up the road. So if he does get another stage win, then it's definitely going to be thanks to Astana. But he's still in it. So holding out for him, it will be so momentous. This year's tour will be just about that if he does get it. But it is also a great tour in terms of like who the big general classification riders are. Today, Pogacar, his name's actually today, but today Pogacar actually won the stage and pulled away from his main rivals. So he's looking like the man to beat, and he goes into the yellow jersey. Took time out of Jonas Vingegaard, who won the Tour last year but had a bad crash earlier this year. So that looks pretty ominous for the rest of the pack. So really, I'm just going to be looking out for if Astana can pull Mark Cavendish through to the front of the pack on a sprint stage.
Is that, I don't know if you've watched it, is the Netflix doc worth a watch, the Tour de France one? Have you seen any of that yet?
I think the Netflix docs that are worth a watch on cycling are around Lance Armstrong and the Drugs and Sport. I haven't watched the Tour de France one, but the one on Lance Armstrong was pretty phenomenal.
Might be that good. Yeah, I always jump in and out of cycling. Like, I'll watch a little bit, but I can't say I know that much about the Tour and how it all works.
What did you say, Joel? post
I
Netflix.
said Icarus. Yeah, that's the
Icarus. Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Okay. Well, that does for today.
That'll do us. We'll have more to, obviously, next we'll have a lot more football. We'll get into Wimbledon a little bit. I'm a bit sad that Murray's not made it through. I thought he might get one.
Yeah, it's a shame
I
this
think
morning, wasn't it?
he probably did the right thing in withdrawing, though, because then he gives that place to someone else who's actually fit and able to play, rather than just go and stand on court and take 3 donuts. He's actually letting someone else play, and he can go out playing doubles with his brother, which is probably a more fun way for him to go out.
Yeah, exactly. That's just like Andy Murray all over, isn't it? He just does the right thing. Like, there's no point in him just to get battered in the singles if it's also going to make him not fit to play the doubles as well.
But having a back operation 10 days ago to be in with the chance of lining up at Wimbledon is pretty impressive.
It got leaked as well, didn't it? That Judy Murray wasn't very impressed that someone had leaked his medical announcement before they had a chance to say anything, so people sort of knew he wouldn't play in the singles. So yeah, but hopefully we get to see him in the doubles and make a bit of a run, and hopefully he gets one more chance on centre court.
Jack Draper is playing at the moment, isn't he? That's gone to a deciding set. So
My main man.
Yeah.
The pod, KJ, the pod's main man, Jack Draper. Yeah, and he's a breakup. So he's a breakup in the 5th set. He's currently leading 4-2. So he's looking like he might go through now.
Good.
Look forward to getting
All right. That'll do us then. Loads to get into next week. If you enjoy listening to the pod, give us a like and a subscribe on Spotify. If you want to get in touch, it's allsportspods@gmail.com. And we'll catch you on the next one. Thanks, guys.
Cheers, lads.